everybody, this is Kohdok here, and as you know, it is now early August, which means that that thing that MGA promised me should be here any minute, and I bet... that must be it now. I guess I'd better go get it. How big could it be? I mean, it's just some cars, right? So this is Scan2Go, huh? It's actually pretty big, and... Wait a minute. I've seen something like that before. Yeah, I knew it! This is my Shadowbreaker Z3. This is called a mini 4-wheel drive car, and it's made by Tamiya brand. And this Scan2Go stuff looks exactly like it. I've had this car for about 10 years, and it's still in as good a shape as ever. Mini 4-wheel drive was developed by Tamiya 30 years ago. It's still pretty popular in Japan today, and they still have regular tournaments for it. These little babies can go really fast. They use a powerful engine which drives all 4 wheels and enables them to go at incredible speeds and perform some spectacular stunts. Now, the Tamiya cars are actually model kits with engines included in them that you have to put them together yourself. However, because of all the individual parts, you have to add the contacts, you have to add the bearings, you have to deal with some parts that are really tiny. Now, the big appeal of Tamiya 4-wheel drive is that you can customize them. You can buy engines that are 3-4 times more powerful than the engine that comes in the kit, and you can get like aluminum rollers and stuff and special devices, and it's just incredible. They're fun and highly customizable, but they're not necessarily a good thing for kids because they can take hours to put together, and of course a whole lot of the parts are really tiny. Scan2Go was developed by New Boy in the People's Republic of South Korea as sort of a response to the mini 4-wheel drive trend aimed more towards children. Rather than the customization of the mini 4-wheel drive, Scan2Go instead uses some special cards that allow you to control the various features of the vehicle being used. They are also tied into a televised cartoon which should appear on the Cartoon Network sometime this fall, hopefully replacing a certain other cartoon. Well, now that we have the history of mini 4-wheel drive out of the way, let's see how it stacks up. Wow, this is big. I mean, look at this thing. It's bigger than my table. It's bigger than the Baku Frisbee. Wow. Anyway, this is what you get for $50. This is the Circle Starter Set, and it includes 8 curve section, 16 fastener clips, although I actually got 17, 12 cards, which consist of 8 speed cards and 4 turbo cards, and the Falgor Scan2Go Racer. The Scan2Go cars are about the same size and shape as the Tamiya Mini 4-wheel drive and go at about the same speed as the Tamiya 4-wheel drive with the kit engine when going in normal mode, even though these things are actually 2-wheel drive as opposed to the 4-wheel drive of the Tamiya Mini 4WDs. But the thing that makes Scan2Go cars different from the Tamiya ones are that it actually has a turbo function. Turbo functions that are controlled by swiping some cards through a slot in the top, hence Scan2Go, as it scans the barcodes on the backs of each card. Now there's 2 kinds of cards, one of which is the speed card, which determines the potency of the boost, and the other one which is the turbo card, which determines how many times the card can boost. Speed cards have a speed boost rating from 1 to 12, and turbo cards have a turbo number from 1 to 6. Now for the speed cards, you have to swipe a speed card with a character that matches the Scan2Go card you're using, but as for the turbo cards, you can use any turbo card you want. You can even swipe none if you feel so inclined. Swipe both cards, and once you're finished, you can just set it into the track and hit the start button. When boosting, the car can go a whole lot faster. Now you cannot control when the turbos are used, and they would still be used at set intervals, but you can still get a fair amount of speed out of each one. There is actually a variety of Scan2Go cars, including Falgor, Leopatra, Slazor, Jamoth, and Wolver. Whichever one you use seems to be a matter of taste, although you have to have the matching speed card in order to get it to work. A booster pack of these cards contains 4 speed cards and 2 turbo cards, and go for about $1.50 a piece. They don't seem to have any kind of set rarity. The actual track set consists of 8 large plastic sections which are held together by 16 smaller clips. Now, the track actually is able to clip together by itself, so these clips merely act as reinforcement, meaning that the track actually stays together quite well. I'd like to see somebody do this with a Hot Wheels set. Now, the circle may be great for testing out the cars, but it's not so good for racing because the car on the inner circle will always have the advantage over the car on the outer circle. Fortunately, they sell an extension track pack for just an additional $10, which turns this thing into an oval, which makes it more suitable for racing by including a part that causes the cars to change lanes every lap. Go Ruby! Now, the Korean starter set and the Italian starter set actually come with that starting right off the bat, but considering that the price of this thing is only $50 and adding another $10 into the extension track pack, it's still cheaper than how they get it in Korea or Italy. Now these things definitely beat the Tamiya track in price, but the one difference is that the Tamiya sets, when they have a lane transfer, it's actually kind of an under-over style in order to keep the cars from crashing into each other. But that's really the only point of inferiority. If you're a fan of Tamiya cars, the Tamiya cars work just fine on this track. Now, admittedly, the circle track doesn't really do justice to the speed of these things. These things are incredibly fast on a straightaway, and that's why if you're ever going to race them, always use a track, because otherwise they will get away from you. Granted, it doesn't have the amazing customization options of Tamiya Mini 4-wheel drive, but these things are a whole lot more user-friendly. The quality control is excellent. I have had no trouble performing any proper scans, and most importantly, since these Tamiya cars require a lot of maintenance, there's a good chance that they'll fall apart into a whole bunch of pieces that are really tiny. There's also a cartoon series coming out this fall on the Cartoon Network which has the same name. Now in this series, it's kind of like Star Trek in that mankind has managed to make contact with the rest of the universe and is able to travel into the stars. In this future, Scan2Go is a very popular hobby with the rest of the galaxy, although it's a bit unknown on Earth and not quite taken to the same level of seriousness. Enter our heroes, Team Jet, a rundown team from Earth who managed to enter a large tournament by default since Scan2Go isn't terribly popular on Earth and no other teams existed. The cast consists of Kaz Gordon, Fiona Ryder, no relation to Honey Ryder, Myron Seagram, Diego Montana, and Shiro Sutherland with their coach named, Coach and his pet robot, Pell, who seems to have a splash of Speedy Gonzalez in him for good measure. Yeah, I know, it seems kinda generic, but the characters actually have very strong and diverse personalities and each explore their own likes and dislikes and hobbies. This has shown how it affects their racing.
Kaz, your impressive desire to win allowed you to harness Balgor's abilities at the last minute. But you don't quite have the skills yet to put its full power to use. In terms of heart and competitiveness, Fiona, you've got what it takes, but you still don't know how to maneuver your machine, and your strategizing needs an overhaul. Myron, you're very familiar with your car's abilities, and your strategy is well executed, but I'm not sensing any desire to win from you. As for you, Diego, everything about you needs a tune-up.
Everybody got that?
Shiro is the inevitable fifth member and is of course the mysterious loner type who takes his time joining the team. Together they fly across the universe, challenging various racers and teams from across the galaxy in their efforts to be the best. If their bus doesn't break down first. The world is also very well developed, as other hobbies, sports, and events are also shown. Of particular note is that there is a nice variety of aliens in the galaxy, not necessarily just humans with funky bits on them. Scan2Go is so popular that corporations can actually be seen holding Scan2Go tournaments in order to promote their business, kind of like how sports are used today. The stakes aren't terribly high and the mood is fairly lighthearted, with Scan2Go being presented more like a competitive sport rather than a battle between good versus evil, though one has to realize that trying to take over the world with some kind of toy is a bit silly. Then again, this lighthearted attitude makes it pretty darn funny to see just how seriously some of these characters take what is, even in universe, just a toy car.
An actual race is nowhere near as simple as you probably think it is. Don't underestimate Scan2Go!
It doesn't matter whether we're elite or amateur, we're still in the same race!
And yes, I did just say Kai-tastic.
Ooh, don't underestimate Scan2Go!
I think it's supposed to be kind of funny, because a lot of the characters actually tell Kaz to relax and that he's taking things way too seriously.
Chill out, folks. It's our first race. Let's have a good time out there.
Now, similar to Beyblades, each car contains a beast spirit and can do all sorts of stuff the actual toys can't. Like the characters can actually control when to engage the turbo, though there are still limits and boosting on a curve is suicidal. The different characters also race differently and their various personalities have their ups and downs. For example, Fiona's impulsivity costs her big time in episode 1, but nets her a win in episode 8, meaning the message is more on tempering one's abilities rather than hammering out weakness. The show doesn't appear to have been given any severe alterations, and I don't detect any of those lame jokes or puns that a lot of previously imported animes got shoehorned into them, which is certainly a plus. The theme song is a little hit and miss, but it is adapted directly from the Korean version. The show is admittedly formulaic, but it is well made and it is at the very least harmless, which I would take over genuinely offensive any day. It's worth watching even if you find it ironically funny, and the episodes are well animated and crisply written, though it's nothing terribly revolutionary. I'd say it's above average compared to what is on the airwaves these days. Lord knows that if they'd made it in the United States, it probably would have been some kind of F-Zero ripoff. Now, there are a few ways that I feel that MGA could improve the Scan2Go experience. First of all, I think that these track parts should be sold individually for, I don't know, $3.50 a pop. Just slap a UPC symbol on there and hang them from the rack in the store. Because let's face it, once a kid gets a couple of cars that he likes and the scan cards he needs in order to run them, the thing he's going to want to focus the most on is getting more track. So making the track affordable would be a great way to do that. I think it would work really well because if you sold each of these track parts for cheap, it would allow kids with their allowance money to enhance the track that they already have little by little and slowly work into something amazing. Also, because the track can actually attach together on its own without the clips, which I imagine could be sold in little baggies of 8 for like $4 a piece, it would allow people to experiment with what this track can do, and that kind of tactile experience I find is a great way to help sell toys. Now, of course, since this is a sponsored review, I will be able to send three of you lucky guys one of these starter sets, and that would kind of get the massive investment out of the way, wouldn't it? Well, it's going to be like the way it is done before. It's going to be a rafflecopter contest where you enter it in the blog post I'm going to put down below, and you can gain additional points by liking the video, commenting on the video, and liking me and MGA on Facebook. Anyway, that's Scan2Go from MGA. Now, if you excuse me, I believe I have a score to settle. Are you as ready for this as I am? Alright then, it's on. Okay, you can have the Falgor and I'll... Wait, come on, you're gonna take the... Right, jeez. Not like it's gonna make a difference on the outcome. Oh, and no cheating either.
Alrighty then.
Alright then. 3, 2, 1! Feel the power. Oh, you haven't won yet. Ludicrous speed! Go! Say, did we ever decide on a victory condition? Huh.